High school student Lin Shu was hit by a car on his way home and crossed to the M78 Kingdom of Light, where he became Ultraman. The father of Ultraman, the Kingdom of Time, had just taken over. Strive to protect those who are bound and valued. If there are any similarities, rectification will be carried out after notification. Just write aimlessly and think about where to write. 1. Saikas Ultraman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Today was a sad day for Lin Shu, as he traveled through time and became an unknown Ultraman cub, but an orphan. More importantly, he traveled to the time when Jian Gang became the captain of the Space Guard, and in a few years, Belia was coming. A kind Ultraman walked in and named me Saikas, hoping that I could become an excellent Ultraman warrior. 1,000 years have passed, during which Belia returned and destroyed the Kingdom of Light, being locked up by the king. Zophie also became the captain of the Space Guard. Now I am also starting my first year at auto school, where I see the first generation of senior students and the same grade as me. I have an inexplicable sense of familiarity when I see Saiwan, perhaps because there is an ice axe on my head, and also because my body is dominated by blue, with only a small portion of red and silver. The main content of our class is to understand theoretical courses such as light skills, combat skills, cosmic language, and monster theory. In the 3rd grade, we will introduce future professions, and in the 6th grade, there will be practical training. By the end of middle school, you can choose multiple professions. Entering university is the accumulation and practice of professional theoretical knowledge. The graduation requirement for university is that the chosen profession must pass the C. level to be considered qualified. As for why I know these things, as long as I find any auto in auto square, I know these things. I passed through 3rd grade in an ordinary way, and my grades were still very good for 500 years, after all, I have some blue genes. The teacher's name is Sekas. He has been our teacher of the language of the universe since 1st grade, and now he also tells us about his future career. Ultraman's professions include more than a dozen combat professions and dozens of non-combat professions, including security team members, scientists, planetary observers, commanders, and medical personnel. And I all want to be a member of the police force, a scientist, a planetary observer, a commander, a medical worker, and a teacher, so now I often find teachers to teach me the relevant theories of my profession. Sekas is a planetary observer and both the teacher are B. level, the teacher who teaches us fighting is called Dios. He is a member of the police force, a teacher, and a medical staff member. The teacher who teaches us light is Lester, who is the captain and commander of the police force. After class, I will go to ask the teachers about theoretical issues related to careers, and they are also very enthusiastic. This has given me some understanding of these professions, but scientists have no choice because the difficulty of being a scientist is high and there is a lot of theoretical knowledge, so there are very few scientists. But I am not in a hurry to have it after college. During these 500 years, Saiwan and I have also become good friends. We sometimes engage in competitions and exchanges, and perhaps our personalities are relatively cold. Therefore, we communicate very briefly every day, basically running between the training ground and the light room, which has greatly improved our strength. In 6th grade, Sean and I added a fun place to our training ground, which was mainly a virtual simulation of the enemies Ultraman defeated. Saiwan was thrilled to see this, and the first time he stayed inside for a whole night. He had to continue, so he had to say it wasn't him. At the end of middle school, I started choosing professions. I saw that Kevin had chosen to be a member of the security team and a planet observer. When Kevin saw me choose, he was surprised and said, "Do you really want to choose so many professions? Are you not afraid of not being able to finish your studies?" Chapter 2. Sekas Exam. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I calmly said that it's okay, I have a plan. I have already learned many theories, only one scientist is missing, so there's no need to worry. Saiwan finally said with confidence that as long as you have some knowledge, will you go to the fighting arena this afternoon? I said it's okay. Until every day in college, I was pulled to the training ground by Saiwan because scientists had to learn a lot of theories, which reduced the training time for Saikas and Saiwan. Therefore, every time I had to be pulled by Saiwan. A few days later, I told Sean that I was going to prepare for the D.level exam soon, which was why I had to take a few days off for this battle. There is only one practical exam for members of the police force, which is to compete with the examiner and ultimately be graded by the examiner. Planetary observers are divided into written tests and practical tests. Practical tests involve observing a planet and submitting data and reports to the examiner for verification before scoring. Teachers are also divided into written exams and practical exams. Practical exams teach and evaluate the examiners. Medical personnel also undergo written tests and practical exercises, while practical exercises are used to score the examiner's treatment skills. The same goes for command personnel, and actual combat is a sandbox simulation. The practice of scientists is to hand over inventions to examiners for evaluation. This time, I am planning to make a wrist guard with 5 iron chains connected to a ring at the top. I have added some data to the ring so that it can be turned into weapons such as ultra-long spear, but each ring can only be turned into one weapon. I have added detection and monitoring functions to the wrist guard. This way, there's no need to worry. I named it the Seth wrist guard. After finishing these things, Saikas relaxed in the school laboratory, only to receive a hand attack. Saikas turned around and pressed his wrist, and Saiwan flipped over in the air and said, "I don't want to hit you anymore." Saikas was surprised and said, "How are you here, Severn?" Saiwan said, "Let me see how you've done." I said everything is ready, just hand it over to the examiner tomorrow. After saying Saiwan, I left and wished you all the best. I smiled and said you too. The next morning, today was a written test all day. It wasn't very difficult, it was just a bit difficult for observers and scientists. In the afternoon, after taking the planet observer exam, Saikas and Saiwan rubbed their heads and said, "I'm not sure if I can pass this exam." Saikas comforted and said, "You all feel like you can't pass it, don't I? Don't worry, go to the fighting arena to relax and unwind." As soon as Saiwan heard about going to the fighting arena, he exclaimed excitedly, "Good, good." After playing in the fighting arena for a while, Saikas said to Saiwan that I need to go back. Tomorrow, I have 2 practical exams, and I have to prepare for them in the next few days. Saiwan said, "Wishing you all the best," and I said you too. The next morning, Saikas arrived at the actual combat assessment venue of the Space Guard. The examiner for Saikas this time was named Castor, a warrior with rich combat experience. Saikas said, "Master Castor, let's start." "I'm ready." The examiner let out a sigh. The examiner came over with a sharp punch, and even Saikas could feel the punch. I blocked with one hand and punched towards the examiner with the other, but the examiner grabbed my fist with the other hand. My blocked hand suddenly retracted and kicked me from the side. I flipped backwards and dodged this move. I shook my hand and feigned to attack the examiner with a side kick. After rolling around a few times, I locked the examiner with my scissor legs. Suddenly, the instructor shook the scissor legs that were pressing against him with one hand, and then lifted my ankle with the other. 3. Sevensekas Mission. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. Severn's Journey to Earth. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Saikas Rescue. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 6. Saikas Patrol. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. The Awakened Leonix Bloodline. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De Colois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 8. Tranquility Before a Storm. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De Colois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 9. Release from Prison. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De Colois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text. Chapter 10. Hardworking Workers. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. De Colois Ara Trong Quatrin Lay Text.